A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. The heights. I think the highlight of this week is either, I don't know, Natasha Akute-Odoaha recall, or was it Independence Bridge for Lagosians? I'm hard to tell. It's hard to tell between the two, the highlights of the week. But just give us an overview, right? Your report does a fantastic job in just giving us a timeline and all that's happened with the two, both the Minister of Works and also the governor. But this speaks to miscommunication, lack of communication. Your take?
Well, you could call it, well, first of all, good morning, Mazino, good morning, Judith. Yes, you could call it miscommunication, but it's difficult to believe that there could be that kind of miscommunication. I mean, for the minister to say that he was not aware that the bridge had been closed and that rehabilitation work had started on such a strategic bridge in a city like Lagos, it's really, really difficult to believe. Calling it miscommunication could be putting it mildly and putting it lightly, and trying not to apportion blame to anyone. But again, it's difficult to believe that this was a case of miscommunication. There hardly is any kind of construction as such, like this particularly, that will go on without the minister knowing. The minister also blamed his subordinate by saying that she did not give him full information. More often than not, you see them working hand in hand. There's hardly anything that she does in Lagos that he is not aware of in Abuja or wherever it is that he is. I remember when the whole drama of the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway was ongoing, she was always there beside him, side by side. More often than not, we got information from her first whenever there was to be a sitting or a press briefing or any information at all. And then we arrive at the location where things are going to happen, and we see her and we see him, the minister himself, there. So it's almost like she is the minister's shadow when he's not around. You know, she is his representative, in Lagos here. So it is quite difficult, to call it miscommunication. But then when you want to bring miscommunication in, I think will be where the minister put out the statement on the night of Wednesday, after we saw that hellish traffic, like we've not seen before. And then the minister put out the statement saying that the bridge must be reopened immediately. And I guess he said that without actually knowing the state of work that had commenced on the bridge, because as at that time when that statement was put out, that particular portion of the bridge, like you see there, had already been dug up. By the time we got there the next morning, Thursday, it was completely dug up. So when the governor arrived, and I asked him the question there, saying, what does he make of the statement from the minister? With a slight chuckle on his face, he said, well, with all due respect to his brother, the honorable minister, we are the ones on the ground here. We know what's happening. We can see the state of work. The minister cannot just say, the bridge should immediately be reopened and then traffic should commence or should resume on the bridge. Things have to be done. So on the one hand, yes, you can say miscommunication. On the other hand, it's difficult to believe.
And so it now takes us to the point of your homework, due diligence, and a synergy between both the state and federal level in this case. Lagos State is the commercial hub of Nigeria, and by extension, I would dare to say West Africa, and a critical nerve in the system will clog everything. You peak a Wednesday, a day immediately after a public holiday, where schools are resuming, people are going back to work, and people are going back home to the state after celebrations back where they are, maybe their ancestral home or back to their villages and the likes. Let's talk about that, which is just a synergy between the federal and the state, or collaboration. There we go.
Now, the minister said that if they were to handle, or if he and his team were to handle this, were to pass out information and were to handle the rehabilitation of the bridge, that they would have done it differently. If they were to handle the redirection of traffic, they would have done it differently. If they were to handle the information dissemination about the closure of the bridge and the works that were to go on, they would have done it differently. I will play devil's advocate a little bit for the Lagos State government, in the sense that the government did announce that the bridge was going to be closed earlier. I think 21st of March was the initial date. However, they now moved it to the 1st of April. And that was the last day of the two-day public holiday, which was Tuesday, Tuesday last week. And then, however, I think the challenge here is that, and the governor did say that he takes blame for that information that was put out was not sufficient, one. Two, was not legible enough. I think sufficient encompasses everything. You want to close such a strategic bridge whatever information concerning that should be everywhere on TV, on social media, I beg your pardon, and very legible signboards, possibly with neon signs that will flash in the eyes of motorists and commuters, such that you're driving around Lagos, you see the sign directly in your faces in so many places. And I think this was what was not done eventually. And that's why we had that hellish traffic. So the bridge was closed on Tuesday, public holiday. And on Wednesday morning, like you clearly stated, people are resuming work like the first working day of the week. And it's if you know that particular point, you would understand how strategic that portion of the road is to the island and the mainland. That links different places. I mean, you can just tell.
Yeah, and would you say that that means that to an extent the governing class is out of touch with the realities and the lived experience of Nigerians?
I mean, this has put in perspective, you can actually accuse the governing class or the government class of that. You know, you can't accuse them of being out of touch because and here's the truth, right? We say this a lot at the office and in several gatherings, that the people and the governed and the government are living in alternate realities. If the governed are going to drive, even if 3 portions of roads in Lagos are blocked, they'll go with sirens and they'll have chauffeur-driven cars, and you know, the roads will be cleared for them to move around. So that's a totally different reality from what the people would face. If there's a blockage in the road, you and I will stay hours in traffic. If there are areas that are cordoned off, we would have to find alternative routes. Whereas the governed, or rather the governing class, will have these roads open for them. We'll have traffic cleared. In some cases, traffic will be halted in some places so that they can go ahead before traffic continues. So yeah, I agree with you. It once again goes to show the difference in balance, you know, between the governing class and the governed. And this extends even up to traffic usage, as you clearly can see in this case.
Right. And again, ill-planned, poor management of traffic, not enough manpower on ground to so much was going on that day. So much can be pointed to what really went wrong. But let's also look at the assessment or the bridge itself. I watched an interview where the minister was talking about the situation of the bridge and why they needed to, you know, the structural issues of the bridge and why it needed to be reassessed and maintained and why the closure was necessary, you know. And it made me wonder, so why did you open it when you know that it's necessary, you know, for you to close it and build it? But away from that, let's talk about climate change. Climate change and its impact. The Independence Bridge is on the water, right? And he complained about the piling, which is bringing it down, and just the integrity of it and all of the other, you know, infrastructure that we have in Lagos that is necessary, that is a nerve. Are we going to be seeing more of the structural issues and, you know, closure and repairs and maintenance across Lagos, given climate change and the rising water situation, rising water levels?
I'd like to say that, yes, I want to believe that we're going to see, you know, a couple of repairs in and around the city of Lagos, being that Lagos is a coastal city. The minister himself, between Thursday, I think it was, yes, and Friday, I know that on Friday and today and yesterday, Saturday, he went around certain other bridges. Our colleague Israel Iferobo was part of the team that went with him. Went around several, you know, bridges, even went on water to inspect the underparts of these bridges to see how well these bridges are doing. And if you're one who drives around Lagos a lot, you would notice that there are some bridges that clearly need repairs. The most recent and major one was the Third Mainland Bridge, and we see how well that is looking right now. But besides that, there's so many other bridges that have, you know, that have lost strength in terms of wear and tear, climate change, you know, the level of usage, and of course the population in Lagos, the number of people and vehicles that have been plying those bridges. There has to be some kind of, you know, periodic maintenance for these bridges in Lagos. We don't have to wait until we begin to see the adjoining metal or the joints that stick out, you know, directly, which we're not supposed to see on a regular basis. We don't have to wait until parts of the bridges are beginning to be chopped off, or we're beginning to see potholes on bridges before we know that these bridges, you know, deserve to be maintained, before we now begin to cordon those bridges off and then start having issues. There's another bridge heading into Marina. If you're coming from the mainland into the island, once you go past Echo Bridge, that has potholes just before you descend into the marina. That, I believe, at some point would be cordoned off sooner than later. And that's one of many. So yes, all these elements that you've mentioned are causes for concern, and there are reasons why these bridges may be closed at certain points in time. However, we don't need to wait until these things really become so bad before these actions begin to be put into place, basically.
So foresight and initiative and proactiveness from the government, 3 words that we still wait to see. But lastly, before I let you go, just looking at the crowd, you said something. You said wear and tear from overuse, but that means that, and that can only mean one thing: Nigeria and Lagos in and of itself, Lagos particularly, is densely populated. Should we start to bring to the fore the conversation of, divesting from Lagos, or better yet, opening other seaports to see that the population reduces and other people start to, Lagosians or Nigerians start to look at other parts of the country as a place to want to settle and have homes in? I am a Lagosian. I was born and brought up here. You were born and brought up here, but there are people that still coming every single day. And that's only because it's a commercial hub. The ports are open. It's more attractive to investors. What can the government do to, make other states attractive? Is it in the coffers of the state governments or the federal governments? What needs to be done?
I mean, this conversation is long overdue, and I want to believe that it's been had, on a daily basis. I'll be disappointed if this conversation has not gone deep, but I strongly want to believe that it has gone deep. On several occasions, when the governor speaks, he talks about the population of Lagos and how there has to be diversification of different things and of different things in the state. One, yes, definitely, we need to begin to talk about how to move certain businesses to different parts of Lagos and not just center them in certain places. Like the governor mentioned, this area that we saw having most of the traffic on that fateful Wednesday is CBD, Central Business District.
Right.
And so we need to find a way to diversify business from just the island and move to other places. There are places that also have, that also are at the shore of the sea. We have Ekpe, we have Badagry. We have Ikorodu, as a matter of fact. We need to begin to see development in front of the waterways in these parts of Lagos. That's one. Now, besides Lagos, you also did mention that we have people coming into Lagos because of the opportunities that are present in Lagos, like you have in many other metropolitan cities across the globe. It is now time for other states, state governors, state governments to begin to improve their own states, right? Bring in the opportunities, bring in investors so that people can actually live and work in other places and then still come back into Lagos if they want to. It will be surprised to find out that the closest state to Lagos, which is Ogun State, that you would have thought that the development spirit from Lagos would have somehow spread into that state. It's kind of different. Right. Such is not the case. You will see the gulf of difference in terms of development. And that's why you still have so many people coming from Ogun into Lagos to work and live, where they could just work here and go back there to live. So it's going to take a collective effort of the Lagos state government and other governments close to or bordering Lagos state, so that the brunt of the work or responsibility does not fall on Lagos state government alone. It's difficult, I must confess. It's difficult to govern a state like Lagos, knowing that Lagos is pretty much the most populous state in the country and not exactly the biggest in terms of land mass. So yes, there will be challenges. But then all these conversations, like I said, it's long overdue for us to be having these conversations.
Oh, right. Absolutely. We need to bring it to the fore. I remember back in the day, back in secondary school, where I went to a boarding school, it was predominantly girls, and all of the people, and I met girls who didn't live in Lagos. They lived in Boko, they lived in, Nasarawa. But when I think back now, I realized they were mostly posted there. They never really chose to live there, if that makes any sense. But Bernard, many thanks for doing this with us. We appreciate you for coming on. Bernard Akede there, just giving us a bit of insight following the Independence Bridge repairs, as it brought us all of the information there, and also the criticism that has trailed the closure and reopening from that, and also the hellish traffic that happened over the week. Once again, Bernard, many thanks.